Hello everyone, my name is Michael and welcome back to the Sovereign Gaming YouTube channel, the YouTube channel where I build worlds, lots, and also share my thoughts on video games that I enjoy. So, as you can see, we are once again back in SimCity, and with today's game plan, we are really going to be looking at detailing Bluewater Village, the suburb just outside of SimCity, and I am hitting the pavement, kind of literally, with some streetlight work that we are going to be doing here. So the idea with the streetlights within Bluewater Village is to actually spread them out a lot more. And the reason being for that is I want it to feel a little less lit than the downtown core of SimCity. It just kind of gives you that different vibe when you're in Bluewater Village at night, as opposed to when you're in the middle of the city where it's a very well lit area in the downtown core and all of that, just because of all of the buildings and all of the streetlights there. So yeah, the idea was really to make it a little more darker here, and that will help to taper out to more of the rural builds that are going to be upcoming. And yeah, the same thing goes with the traffic lights as well. I didn't want there to be a whole lot of traffic streetlights within Bluewater Village. The idea being that because it is a suburb neighborhood that's very car oriented, there would be a lot more stop signs. And of course, there isn't a stop sign in the Create a World catalog of objects. So that's kind of unfortunate, but that's kind of the idea here, is just that there would be more stop signs, more yield signs, and all of that just within Bluewater Village. I know that there is a yield sign, but I decided not to place it in here only because I just didn't want to use it like stop signs, if that makes any sense. Comment below if you want me to use yield signs like stop signs within this build. I'm just kind of curious as to see what you guys feel on it. I ended up not doing it just because it felt a little more cleaner that way. I might just choose select spots, like I might go back and choose a select spot, like whenever a street kind of converges into the main boulevard there, I might actually drop a yield sign on it, but that's neither here nor there, and that kind of detailing will come a little bit later on. The purpose of today's detailing is really to add in those streetlights and also to add in the vegetation and the trees necessary to really convey that this is a suburban area. It's got a lot more green space, or at least it feels like it has more green space than the downtown core, and it's going to feel a lot more spread out with its low dense housing and lower dense commercial area. Speaking of the commercial area, just a reminder, what's really going to be going into those 64 by 64 lots is going to be the school, a community center, which will really be a gym, a big park, and then I'm also going to add in a pool. I do believe that I resized that the last 64 by 64 lot into a 64 by 64 lot. And yeah, the community lots include those four, and then also I will include a grocery store and cafe just on the other side on the boulevard. Now, if it feels like that you don't have to leave Bluewater Village to live out your Sims life, you would actually be correct in that. That is kind of the idea of creating a suburb, is that you don't necessarily have to leave the neighborhood in order to be able to access all of the amenities that you would need in this case. So yeah, even though the community center gym is the only gym in SimCity, it isn't so far away from the downtown core that Sims can't travel to it. But if you have a family living in Bluewater Village, you'll need access to that grocery store. You might want a cafe, and then the school is right there, and there's a park and everything. So you don't technically need to leave Bluewater Village to enjoy those kind of amenities. And usually your sim would be working within the downtown core, so they would actually be commuting into the downtown core. So again, this was designed with the intention that the sims living in Bluewater Village will have to commute to the downtown core in order to work their jobs, and then they have to come back here. And it might look like it's a fair bit of a distance, and that is also kind of true as well. Sims that live in Bluewater Village will likely want to have a more faster car to get around the city and the region a little bit faster. It does take a little bit of a while to get into the downtown core. Like, the commute isn't crazy by any means, but yeah, it's definitely something that is that should be considered when moving out to Bluewater Village, that your Sims are actually going to have to commute into the city if they want to work their jobs, unless of course they own the cafe and they just want to hang out at the cafe or something. So yeah, that was really all designed by choice here. I did want to emulate real life in that kind of sense, because in real life, with suburbs, especially in North American suburbs that are very car centric, you live and you sleep in your suburb neighborhood, and then you commute into the downtown core to usually work your job. So I wanted it to reflect a little bit of real life in this case too. After I finish up with placing and just adjusting these streetlights here, I actually move on and I create a little bit of a mini boulevard, I suppose I could call it, just off of the North Boulevard Road, leading into Bluewater Village. And what that is actually going to end up becoming is just an entryway for the graveyard that I plan on building. And the reason why I really decided to choose this location for the graveyard is that I wanted the graveyard to have nice views of the city, first of all, and also like nice views of the ocean and the riverway and everything of that sort. So that was a really big consideration that I had there. But I also really wanted the graveyard to be a place that is accessible for every sim that's living within the SimCity region. And even though like it's not as accessible for the builds out in the rural areas of SimCity, it really hits the biggest population center here, which is just between that Bluewater suburb, the another suburb, which I will get into discussing a little later on, and also the downtown core. You don't have to travel so far from the downtown core and the downtown neighborhoods to actually get to the graveyard to mourn your loved ones. Besides, the graveyard was something that is, it's usually very lush. Like, graveyard grounds are very well kept, and I just wanted to give it a really nice location and a nice place for Sims to really find peace and to mourn their loved ones in somewhere that actually feels nice as well. When it comes to actually getting to the graveyard build itself, I won't be adding in any fake gravestones or anything of the sort. And the reason why is because I will plan to populate it myself, I guess, when I come around to it. But more importantly, I also want players to just have that flexibility on their end. They'll know exactly where to put their gravestones and all of that whenever I get around to doing the graveyard build itself. And I also want the graveyard to be, I'm very on the fence with it, and so I'll make a decision when the time comes, but I'm kind of thinking that the graveyard might be a place that really promotes more closure, as opposed to just trying to be a little gimmicky with death and going with that spookier vibe. So that's kind of the two different approaches that I'll consider when it comes to actually building the graveyard itself. Is, do I go with the more spookier vibe, or do I go with a more like closure and more mature, I suppose, interpretation of death as we know it now? So that's kind of something that I will have to I'll have to deal with and build when the time comes. But for now, I really enjoyed the location that it's in. I gave it a 64 by 64 lot just so that there can be a significant amount of landscaping within the lot itself, and so that players will have the flexibility to use the graveyard as they see fit. As for the grass textures themselves, I really wanted to put in that lush grass texture that we've been using in the downtown core for certain parts of it. It just felt right to me to have that extend over into Bluewater Village, because it just would feel that the houses here would keep their lawns very lush and green. It feels like something that the HOA fees would contribute to within this area here. So that's exactly what I decided to do. I just decided to continue it off of here and to just give those lots that lush green look and feel to it. What I end up doing is I actually end up bordering the Bluewater Village neighborhood with a simple tree line, and it just really makes it all come together. So when I start adding in the trees and all that, you guys are going to really see this pop up and feel more like a suburb, a lush green suburb that's got some parks here and there, and yeah, it's going to really feel like a North American suburb, which is what I was really going for with this Bluewater Village interpretation of mine. I also wanted to touch upon like what is coming up next. Because this is the detailing episode, it suggests that we are moving from this area and working on another in the SimCity region. And you would be absolutely correct in that assumption. And I alluded to it earlier before in this episode, but the next neighborhood that we are going to be working on is one that will be a bit of a challenge for me, just because it requires a lot of terrain work in of itself, which one could argue is the reason why I've been avoiding doing a lot of the geography in the SimCity region. But anyways, the region that we're going to be working on next is going to take a lot of inspiration from the Hollywood Hills and the mansions and the hillsides and all that. And yes, it is going to be the rich neighborhood. It's going to sit directly south of the Bluewater Village suburb here, and it's going to connect the southern part of the bridge a little bit more naturally. And there is a lot of terrain work that goes into it. We finally actually add in some mountains here, so it just really adds in another layer of visual intrigue to the SimCity region. And it's something that I'm really excited to show you guys, because it's something really different from what we've been doing so far, which has just essentially been playing on flat land, whereas this time we're going to be playing on a lot more hillier terrain. There's mountains involved. Now, I don't texture or recolor the mountains in the next episode, but you can certainly see that the topography is there for that. So that is what is indeed coming up next, is giving those rich houses and those larger mansions a place to live, quite literally. And where they're going to live is on a mountainside with an amazing view of the city, the ocean, and all of that. I haven't decided on a name for it quite yet, but I'm going to put up a poll on my channel and just kind of ask you guys what it should be named. I'm thinking that what would make sense here is naming it after Pleasant View, because it's going to be a pleasant view, period. The other name I was thinking of is Sunset Valley, just really directly naming it off of one of the neighborhoods within the Sims lore, just because that's going to be where a lot of the original families would live. I imagine that the Crumplebottoms and the Altos and the Goths, and I guess the Landgrabs as well, they would probably all live in a mansion on a hill that overlooks Sim City and the region. So with those original families just kind of living there, I figured that it makes sense to name the actual neighborhood based off of either like Pleasant View or Sunset Valley. So that's really the idea going forward, and what you can look forward to in the next episode. Returning back to Bluewater Village here though, as you can see, like I did struggle a little bit when it came to deciding on what trees I wanted. I wanted something to border the houses, just that had like a medium height to it, but it was also a deciduous tree, and I just really couldn't make a decision. But the decision that I ended up making, as you can see on screen, was something that I really liked. And the reason why I thought it was very important to border some of those lots with trees is because I would think that in Bluewater Village, the citizens would demand a pretty aggressive screening standard to be followed for the neighborhood design when it came to how the single family homes met up with major road infrastructure such as the boulevard. So that's really the idea here with that. And when I went to design the road layout of Bluewater Village, as you saw in last episode, I did leave those gaps for this very reason. Now, there's really no rhyme or reason for like how I am actually placing these trees. Normally I would likely count up the squares in between, but this time I just went with looks. I just wanted to make sure that one end of a tree touched the other end of a tree before moving on and placing it in the next trees. I feel like it worked as a way to provide that proper screen coverage, and yeah, I think it just really makes the neighborhood all come together. And with the tree work that goes into Bluewater Village for this episode, it just really helps to establish it as a neighborhood. And that is something that I would actually advise if you are into doing like a design or anything of that kind of nature, is that creating a border or creating some sort of a way for people to interpret an area of your design as being an area in of itself. Let me try that again. Some advice I would give to anybody that is into design work and all that is to create borders around what their focal point is. In this case, the focal point is really the road layouts and the lots that go into Bluewater Village. And by creating a border around the neighborhood, just with the trees following the lush green texture that surrounded Bluewater Village, it really helps to create a sense of place, and it also helps players to identify that this is an area that is completely different from the downtown core, and it's going to have a different feel to it. So yeah, borders are very important. Visual borders are very important when it comes to any kind of design work, and that carries over into other projects as well. And with all of that said, that's really going to do it for today's episode on detailing the Bluewater Village suburb neighborhood. I just wanted to say that I love again how it turned out. It feels like a really different area of the city, and I'm very excited for the next episode where we will be working on the richer neighborhood, the Mansion Hills, essentially the Pleasant View or Sunset Valley build of the SimCity series, where all of those old money families can be found, and new money families too. And yeah, that's something I'm very excited to show you guys, as it again changes the look and feel of SimCity completely, and I am hoping to see you there as well. Anyways, I just wanted to thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this series and if you've enjoyed this video, then feel free to like and subscribe to this video, and also feel free to leave a comment with what you think on how it's going so far. It helps me to beat the algorithms, and it helps this channel to reach a few more people that might enjoy this as well. Anyways, I just want to thank you again for watching, and I hope you have yourself a wonderful day.